All right, so this is my gotta have it for the XPS 15, and I do have the lower end model. I don't have the crazy high end spec one, but I do have my final thoughts on this machine, and if you guys gotta have it. So first up, let's talk about specs, because specs is what really separates this machine from the 13-inch, and just also what you can upgrade in this machine as well. So in terms of spec, what I have in front of me is the i5-10300H, which is a 4-core processor. It has 16 gigabytes of RAM, 256 gigabytes of storage, and the GTX 1650 Ti. So even though I do have the lower end, you can spec this up to be a very powerful machine. I think you can also get this with the 6-core or 8-core i7, but you're still going to be getting that GTX 1650 Ti. But there is just so much you can option up with this computer. You can also upgrade the RAM and storage yourself. I might post a video on how to open up this machine and point out where you can upgrade it to. So you just get a lot more versatility and options when you do decide to pick up the XPS 15. Like I said before, you can option this all the way up to 64 gigabytes of RAM. You can do that yourself. You can get this all the way up to 1 terabyte of SSD NVMe storage. You can also do that yourself. And you can get this with the 4K model. And interestingly enough, I believe it's $300 instead of $400 compared to the XPS 13 and 17. And I'm not really sure why. I think it might be because it's not touchscreen. You guys might have to check that, but I'll probably do that for you, honestly, and have it on the screen somewhere, whether it is touchscreen. I don't think it's really that beneficial to get a 4K model on a display this small, similar to the 13-inch, but if you are a person who can take advantage of the more real estate you get from 4K and even that HDR benefit, then the 4K model is something that you probably want to dump a little bit more money on. So next up, I'm going to talk about the ports, and this is where it still gets pretty good from Dell. So we have a regular USB-C port on the side with an SD card slot and a headphone jack, and then on the opposite side we have 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports. And also inside the box, Dell gives you a HDMI and a USB-A port dongle to USB-C. So that's also really nice that they're giving us a dongle, giving us more ports, more versatility. So I've been saying a lot of good things about the XPS 15, and this is where I'm going to have to give it a little bit of a hit, because the one thing that I don't like on this computer is the keyboard. I don't know what it is, but it just feels a little bit even more mushy than the XPS 13 and the 17. I feel like they really didn't do a good job of quality control when it first came to launch of the XPS 15. I know that Dell has addressed most of those issues, and they haven't had too many problems with the trackpad and other things that might have happened, but I think since I got it at launch, they probably just didn't look at it as well, and I do have that problem with the clicking of the trackpad, but I know that some of those things don't happen anymore, and I think my computer just locked. So let's go ahead and talk about the unlocking features. So they actually fixed the Windows Hello feature that I was having problems with. Originally, before, I would have to get really close or I have to stand really far back. I had to take off my glasses if I wanted to get this computer to unlock several times. And I didn't have that issue anymore with, like, I think a BIOS update that happened like a couple weeks ago. You also do have fingerprint unlock, which is really fast, good, consistent. I find it to be more consistent than the XPS 13 I had. I do think they're probably just going to improve that over time with BIOS updates, maybe Windows updates. But with the unlocking features, I give them both an A+. One thing that I completely skipped over, because this review is just now all over the place, is the build quality. The build quality on this is pretty much just a bigger version of the XPS 13, and this machine feels really premium in the hand. I can't express how much I love the design of this new XPS lineup. It's more sleek, clean, more modern, just feels really good in the hand with that slant design. You also do have carbon fiber on the inside, and the other thing that I really like is that they got rid of the Dell logo at the bottom, so they're giving you more screen real estate. And I think overall this is just a better design improvement than the last generation, and I want to really condemn the right word? No, it's definitely not the right word. I want to say good job for Dell. I'm going to use some basic words. I want to say good job to Dell. They did a really good job with redesigning the XPS lineup this time. So next up, I want to talk about the microphone and web camera. You guys can tell me how it looks and sounds, and then from there, we'll talk about the speakers. Okay, so this is the camera and microphone test on the XPS 15. You guys can tell me how it looks and sounds. In my personal opinion, in terms of how it looks, I think it's okay. It's nothing extraordinary.
it's passable, but for Windows Hello, I think it should be a minimum requirement that the camera should be at least 1080p. 720p as a web camera nowadays is just not cutting it.
So the speakers, in my opinion, standalone, they sound really, really good. I think most people are not going to be disappointed in the speaker sound they have. If you are coming from like a higher end MacBook Pro, the 13-inch or the 16-inch, you might be a little disappointed on what the XPS has to offer, but by itself, I would say that these speakers are really good and no one's gonna be disappointed watching movies or just listening to podcasts and things like that. So next up is battery life, and this is where I wanna say this all for Windows laptops now. To get the most performance, you gotta be plugged in, but if you do use the highest performance setting, your battery drains like crazy when you start doing some heavy applications. So I usually keep it on, I believe, the third tick. It might be better battery or better performance, not best performance. And I got pretty much all day. I didn't have to worry about plugging anything else in. But I will say that if you are plugging this into like an external display, if you're doing a lot of CPU intensive tasks, that your battery is going to drain pretty fast. I would probably say anywhere between like 4 to 5 hours. So just keep that in mind. Also, just check that battery settings to see what setting you're at, because your mileage is going to vary. So the question that I have to answer now is, do you got to have it? And I would say if the XPS 13 is too small for you, or if you just need a little bit more performance and 15 inches isn't that big of a difference for you, and you like Windows, then the XPS 15 is a pretty good laptop. The fact that Dell still gives you the option to upgrade the storage and the RAM is really nice for the consumer, because unlike Apple, you're not stuck with the configuration that you have. You'll be able to upgrade in the future and basically still use this computer as long as you need to. So you probably could dump a lot of money on the CPU and just take a hit on the storage and RAM, but as time goes on, you can upgrade that later on down the road. But you know, there might be some annoyances with the storage that you have to do, like clean, install Windows and whatnot. So that's going to be a little bit of a problem. Also, if you're a person that likes Linux, I know there's some people that enjoy buying Chromebooks and Windows laptops for booting Linux. And I would think that the XPS 15 and 13 are also really good options for running Linux if you don't like Windows, which, you know, are some people like me. But I would say overall, this machine is really good for the price. Another thing I forgot to mention with the display, it's matte finish, it's not glossy. And I really do like the matte finish rather than having that touchscreen display, because it gets littered with fingerprints. And the matte display I like, and here we go, come on. There we go. So that's going to be my review of the XPS 15, my gotta have it. Hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. Please make sure to subscribe if you did enjoy it. Leave a like, and as always guys, much love. It's crazy how much this laptop has changed through BIOS updates. It was a terrible machine when it first came out in terms of software, but it's definitely improved. Definitely improved. The beauty has not changed. It's still top notch on a Windows laptop. All right, that's it for me guys. Peace.